The following podcast is recorded and produced by Emerge, a media creators co-op, in affiliation with the network at bicbp-radio.com.
Good morning and welcome to our first episode of Conversations with CASE. CASE, which stands for the Coalition of Agencies Serving the Elderly Population. We are an organization that was started in 1985. Several members of the community were worried about what was going to happen with the elderly population, so brought some agencies and organizations that deal strictly with the elderly together. From that, we're here in 2024, and we are 50 members strong and growing each and every week. The Coalition of Agencies Serving the Elderly deal with education, resources, and various things that are pertinent to people transitioning into other areas of their life, whatever the case may be. The Coalition members meet on a monthly basis, the first Wednesday of every month. It is a great resource for each other, a great networking opportunity, and certainly a place to learn all the things that there are for those serving the elderly in Niagara County. My role with CASE is I am the chairperson of the board. I probably should have mentioned that at the beginning, but my name is Christine O'Hara, and I have been very privileged to just take over that leadership role 2 months ago. We're excited for this podcast. We will be bringing to you each and every week various people from organizations and agencies throughout Niagara County that will tell you a little bit more about what they do so that you can get those resources and the education that you are needed. Today, though, I'd like to start out with my first guest. I have to say that I also serve as the executive director of HART, Inc. in Lewiston, New York, Home Assistance Referral Team. We certainly are a member of CASE, and I am privileged today to introduce my guest, Mrs. Patty Berggren, who is the chairperson of the board of directors of HART. So welcome, Patty.
Thanks, Chris.
So just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in HART.
Well, first of all, let me say that HART is very proud to be an active member of CASE, and we're proud that our executive director is leading this organization, but we have been involved for many years, and it's a good fit for us. I got involved with HART, I think, some 13 years ago. Our family used the services of HART, and for my mom, after my dad passed away, Mom stayed in her home, was able to stay in her home in Lewiston for a few years, and then it became obvious to my sister and I that she needed some assistance on a daily basis. So we reached out to HART, and I knew about the organization, but I didn't know exactly how critical they are in helping to keep older folks, especially, independent in their own homes.
Wonderful. Well, I have to say, too, I really didn't know about HART before I became involved, and it was interesting. I've known Patty, we've known each other for a lot of years through all of our work, and I was working at another organization in Niagara County, and Patty came up to me and said, I'm involved with this organization called HART. Would you please join the board? Are you interested? And I sat back, and it was Patty. It was you. So I thought, of course I want to.
Can't be that bad.
Didn't really know all that much about it. So certainly I got involved on the board end, which was wonderful. But now being on the other end as a staff person, it is just truly amazing what has been done over the last almost 43 years, but what continues today. So thank you for getting me involved with HART.
Well, it's been one of the best things that happened to HART, because under Chris's leadership and our board, we have a wonderful board. It's a very diverse board that touches all areas of Niagara County, but we have grown tremendously in the past few years, and post-COVID, our cases have just escalated considerably. So we're on the road a lot now. We're reaching deep into Erie County, but I imagine you want me to talk about that a little bit later. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. You can jump into that. I mean, that our service area, as you just mentioned, is Erie and Niagara County. But tell us a little bit about that, about the Erie County reach and how that's all transpired and why it's into Niagara County into Erie County.
Yeah, for sure. We're very proud of it. Well, first of all, I guess it's it's important to be clear about the mission of HART. Chris mentioned that we were established almost 43 years ago. Out of the Lewiston Presbyterian Church, we are not corporately affiliated with any church or any other organization, but at the time, the minister they had, Reverend Dr. Paul Moore, was a very progressive man, and he coalesced a committee of community leaders in the medical field, education, business, and they discussed the fact that in those days, in the late 70s, early 80s, unemployment was just expanding greatly in this area. A lot of the corporations on Buffalo Avenue that employed so many people were pulling out, and it was leaving a lot of older folks alone in their homes, and when children left either high school or college, they weren't coming back because jobs were not here. So that's the birth of HART, and it started as a very small organization in one little room at the church. We're very grateful that they've allowed us to have expanded space, but we pride ourselves also on our care model, and folks very often will say, well, what sets you apart, or are you different from other home care agencies? Because you're seeing a lot of advertisements these days for home care agencies, because my generation, that baby boom generation, is really hitting the wall when it comes to dementia and Alzheimer's disease and diseases of the aging. But our care model is very unique, and this made a big difference with my mother. Mom was a very independent lady, and she made it very clear to my sister and I do not want a lot of people traipsing through my house to care for me. That's not what we do at HART. When you are matched, we have tremendous care coordinators that take a personal interest in matching a family with the right either single caregiver or team of caregivers, and that person or persons stays with that family member throughout the duration of the case. And it's so important because we're placing people in private homes, so that does set us apart and really has been a hallmark of our care. But to go back to your question about Erie County, we have had a tremendous opportunity come our way. We are collaborating with UBMD, University of Buffalo, MD. Nonetheless, they are one, if not the largest, primary care provider in Western New York, primarily in Erie County. And they have reached out with us. We have met with them. They have embraced us, I guess we might say, as their home care provider of choice. So we are working with their physicians and their team of employees to. They contact us when they have patients that they realize maybe should be going into a nursing home. But if they had home care support and help, that would be the optimal situation. So it has expanded our reach considerably. We're now deeply into Erie County, not quite in the South Towns yet, but we do on occasion get calls from Orchard Park and whatnot. But I personally am very proud of the fact that our care model is very different than some other organizations.
Absolutely. And as you just said, we're not totally into the South Towns yet. However, it is amazing the more people hear about HART. I can say that the calls are there. And we want people to know that we will do everything in our power. We are recruiting all the time so that we can service those people that need it. And also, just to add on to UBMD, I obviously know a bit about HART, so I can add on to that. But what's a little different about that as well, people are always welcome to come into the office at HART, correct? Stop in. But the normal way for someone to open a case is to call our office. With the UBMD folks, we are actually going to be at various clinics in Erie County, starting out this past week. By appointment only if a family is interested in getting some care. We will go out and meet with them, myself and one of my team members. So it's really quite unique once again.
It's working out well.
And I think I'm so glad you brought that up about the care model, because it is so incredibly different. And quite honestly, most people that call us need our type of care, but if it doesn't fit what they're needed, we certainly will recommend an agency that might handle it a little bit differently. But this is for those who want that private home care.
Exactly. And that's where our relationship with CASE comes into play, because if there are other needs for a person or a family that calls us, we do have this resource to reach out to them as well. Also, I should have said up front that we provide care, everything from home helpers all the way through to registered nurses. And it could be like my mom was 5 days a week, a few hours during the week. My sister and I were with her on weekends, but we also have a lot of 24/7 cases too. So it's a wide variety of care that we provide.
Yeah, and just to add to that again, with our coordinators in the office, it's quite unique that we truly only have one full-time and one part-time person that
Bare
handle,
bones.
yes, that handle all of it. And they have been able to really get to know most of our 300 caregivers in one way, shape, or form,
That's
which
true.
is nice. And I know, Patty, you're aware of it, and we talk about it often. But if someone calls up and says, I need this type of care, but my mother, she's a prankster. She really wants somebody that's funny. And I would always joke that they're not going to send me because I am not funny, but they'll find the right caregiver that will match that.
Yeah.
So I think that that's something also that sets us apart.
It does, and it certainly it adds that personal touch, which is so important, especially when you are at the sunset. It's kind of quirky to say that, but you're at a stage in your life when you want to be comfortable, not only in your own home, but with the people who are caring for you in your own home. It's just it's of the utmost importance. And the other thing that our care coordinators are just they are so good. It's remarkable how they can work with all of our caregivers. But every single one of ours are vetted. If you are interested in becoming a caregiver, you call HART. They will set up an appointment for an interview. They will vet you. We do criminal background checks. We take that very seriously because, as I said before, we are placing people in someone's home, and we want that person or their family members to have the comfort level that this team or person has been checked out thoroughly.
Absolutely. And we obviously let people know that. And some people want to do their own little investigating. That's
Oh, yeah.
fine too. But again, we have a website, and I will bring that up at the end, but people can go online and fill out an application. And then actually what we've been doing as of late with Erie County is one of my team members has been out in Erie County at various sites doing interviews, which is wonderful too. So we're very excited about that. How many families, how many hours, how does that work every month, if you can break that down?
The board is amazed every time you on a monthly or bi-monthly basis, you tell us the amount of the stats and the amount of cases, and we are now up to roughly about 3,500 hours per month. And that, if I remember correctly from our last board meeting, it's almost double where we were this time last year. So it certainly tells us that there is a need in the community. That need is growing. Those hours obviously are going to explode as we get deeper into the project with UBMD and into Erie County. I imagine you're going to ask me, but I'm going to jump the gun first. Mm-hmm. There is another uniqueness of HART, and the fact is that we are not for profit. We are not supported. We are not a for-profit home care agency. That is a whole different ballgame. So we exist totally on the generosity of donors. And this has been throughout our 43-year history. So it's private donors. We do a lot of grant work. We have been successful in that area. We hope to be more successful as time goes by, but we are not state funded, government funded, or don't have a corporate umbrella over us as well. So that support, it's really remarkable. I've been in development and for-profit and marketing most of my history at Niagara Falls Memorial Medical Center, but for an organization to stay viable, and not only stay viable, but to grow over 43 years based entirely on the generosity of the community is remarkable. So it tells you what other people think of us in a very tangible way.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you brought that up as well, because as you know, we have a very small team, and we are very fortunate to have an extremely active board. Yep. I think, Patty has led the way, but everyone doing...
It's a team.
It is certainly a team, but everyone doing what they can to help support myself and the team at HART and those we serve. So it truly is a testament. I mean, I've been a nonprofit myself as well, and I won't say it's not a struggle. I won't say that every time we, open the door, we do look for support, but I will say that it is very easy to go out and ask someone to support us because what HART does is so incredibly important. I just, a side note, spoke last week at the Grand Island Senior Center for about 30 people. I was there with the Alzheimer's Association, one of our great partners. And there were 2 people in the audience there who had utilized us. And after I finished speaking, said, wow, everything Chris just said is the truth. That's who HART is. And from that, we had 2 calls the next day for care. So when people hear what we do, when people know what we do, they not only want our help, but they want to support us. So we're very happy about that.
Well, and we started out as a very homegrown grassroots organization. We're still homegrown, but we now really are operated like under your leadership and the team as a small business. There's no question about it. And I also, going back to my mom, will say there was a very important part of getting her to agree to have a caregiver. Very independent woman, was a successful businesswoman in her day, but she did not want to lose the support of her cat, Hemingway. And it was incredibly important to her because it came to the point that it was either home care or nursing home care. And the fact that she could stay at home with Hemingway, and HART absolutely chose the right caregiver that had cats, loved animals, so that we don't realize that small things like that mean an awful lot to people when they're at that stage of their life.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, our caregivers, I know you've had the opportunity to interact with some of them and you know about them. Maybe just talk a little bit about what our caregivers bring to the table and why they're so special.
Well, we pride ourselves in the office, and I'm not sure how many years we've been doing this now, but we do an annual caregiver appreciation luncheon. This year it was a picnic, which was a neat idea, but it's our way of getting the board to know more of our caregivers, but to also let them know how much they're appreciated. And because of the fact that they're assigned to their person or the family that they are caring for on a full-time basis, they get to know that family. They really become, mom's caregiver was like an extended member of our family. There were times when my sister and I said, I think Mom likes her a little bit better than us right now, but she would take her shopping or to get her hair done, that type of thing. But they take a very, very personal interest. There are some cases we have right now that I have known the person we're caring for in different ways over the years, and it's remarkable to see how the team or the caregivers have cared for that person. I might get a call saying, we're seeing a little bit of a change, or could you drop by, or whatever. It's not a business. I often say that our caregivers are the HEART of HART, and I really think that's true.
I agree 100%. And you mentioned something that sometimes your mom may have liked the caregiver more than you, but that's really very true in cases where people call and say, my mom's really against help, or my dad, and they're very difficult. And I know the coordinators will always say a lot of times it's different when you have someone different in the household.
Without question.
And our caregivers are professionals. This is what they do for a living. I think another piece to point out about our caregivers, and we really do keep in tight with them, is we send surveys out. And I know that we've shared surveys with you, and I like to boast that 98% of them are excellent and 2% are good.
It's remarkable, and we have not, to my knowledge, long before I went on the board, up to the present, we have not had incidences that have been of a negative basis that we had to deal with, and that is just a remarkable history over those many years for sure. Before I forget it, I also want to mention that we do provide respite care. There are situations where family members may be caring for an aged relative or whatever, and they need a break. They need to take a vacation or whatever, and they can call HART, whether it's for a longer term case or whether it's for something short term. But we do provide that service as well. And also, we are not, I would say predominantly, and you can correct me, that the folks we are caring for are predominantly seniors, but that it isn't exclusive. We care for folks that may come. We may get a call from Memorial or DeGraff or Kenmore Mercy, St. Mary's, from their discharge planning department saying that so-and-so has had hip surgery and doesn't have anyone, he lives alone. and we really can't send him home to a safe discharge, can HART help us? So, and that person may be a 40 or 50-year-old individual. So, the depth of the cases certainly they're broad. That's for sure.
Certainly. And talking about the hospital discharge plan or some of the other partners that we have that refer to us often, I know you're familiar, hospice in both Erie and
very
Niagara
much so.
County.
Yeah.
All the hospitals are calling us. And oftentimes, you don't have that, you're not in the office, but a lot of times the social workers will call themselves. They know us now.
Yep.
I have a case. Can you help us out? So it's really, really quite unique in that sense. We talked about the partnership with UBMD, but we also have another partnership
Yes.
with the YWCA in Lockport,
Very
and
much so.
It's been going well. It's different in the sense that there's not doctors involved, but we are embedded in that community in Erie County or in Niagara County, and maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Well, we have a wonderful relationship with Mary Brennan Taylor and the wonderful women at the YW. I know you and your staff are out there at certain times of the week to recruit, not only to recruit caregivers, but for families if they wish to drop by and get a little bit more information about us. But it's a good word. We are embedded further into that eastern part of the county. And what better partnership than to be with the YWCA? They have such a rich history, and quite frankly, their passion is women. That's what they have served for a couple of 100 years or so. But the vast majority of our caregivers are women. And I always like to say when I might be speaking to an organization or asking for money or whatever it might be, that we're also very proud of the fact that many of our caregivers are single moms. They might be single moms raising kids. They may be moonlighting with us after they've covered a shift at Shelcoff Health Center or wherever. But we provide a level of income for them. We don't. HART does not. The financial arrangement is totally between the caregiver and the person that they are serving, the requester. But I think the statistics showed us that in a 2-year time period, that group of caregivers earned roughly around $350,000, and that's a big chunk of money that goes back into the economy because they will, buy goods and services and whatnot. But it's also providing an income for folks that may need a little bit of a jump.
Absolutely, and we have many, many like that. But just this past week, I interviewed 2 different individuals in Lockport. One was a retired nurse who thinks what HART does is just amazing, and she was bored and wants to give back. And another one was someone who worked in various organizations in Niagara County, lost her husband in April, is volunteering, and heard about HART, and she's worked with people with dementia and other difficulties in the past and really wanted to help out in a companion type way. And that's one way, as we call it, a home helper or a companion. If you're someone who has had experience, and we do still want that with the elderly, and you're interested in just being a companion, sometimes someone just wants you to come and read to them. But I think we, as much as we will do that, we have, as you have mentioned, Patty, we have grown so much in the care that we do for people. I think for 42, 43 years, it has been done phenomenally, the things that we've done for families. But we really want to let them know that we are fully equipped to do personal care, all levels, through registered nurses. So they should contact us.
Exactly. We do not work with government insurance plans like Medicare or Medicaid, but we can certainly refer people to for assistance in that regard. But we absolutely do work with private insurance. What am I saying? Long-term care insurance,
sure.
Exactly. And our caregivers have become, our care coordinators have been quite proficient in tracking down all of the regulations that are involved in those cases too. But we've had, over the years, we've had several cases that have had long-term care insurance.
Absolutely. And
we've satisfied them.
Absolutely. And something I found out just recently was the Office of the Aging will assist people with the insurance paperwork if they need be. As you said, every long-term care insurance policy is different.
For sure.
So if our people in the office, our coordinators can't help or just direct them. They can direct them to the Office of the Aging.
Which is perfect.
It goes right back to CASE, and why this whole podcast started is that is someone, the Office of the Aging, they're members of CASE. It's, how we became partners. So it's a great partnership that we have with many organizations. I mentioned earlier the Alzheimer's Association, and I know, Patty, you've been there for many of the presentations that they have done for HART and for our people.
Remarkable.
And, we try to provide educational workshops for our caregivers once a quarter, but the Alzheimer's Association has just been a really good partner for us.
Tremendous partner. And sadly, I would think if we had the stats, it would show us that the cases of dementia or Alzheimer's or dementia-related illnesses have dramatically increased since HART started. And it's just a fact of life that it has. Well, the population has increased, so obviously the stats will too. But that is another reason why our care model, and I imagine I'm repeating myself, but I can't say it too frequently, that our care model works because dementia adds a whole different element to the kind of care that we need to provide. And many, as you said, Chris, many of our caregivers have experience in maybe they have worked in nursing homes or some other venue where they have been associated or taking care of folks with dementia. And it's that is a real advantage to those they're caring for.
Absolutely. And as we talk about the care model, we like to refer to it as HART as an extension of your family.
Yeah.
We're an extension of the family caregivers that are there 24/7. A gentleman I met who has been the sole caretaker for his wife who has dementia. He gets help from his church. He has a few friends, a son in Buffalo. But when I talked to him, I said, but we can help you even more so that you get not just to go do the things you have to do, but things you want to do. So I will say that he is trying us out. He wants to see how it works because, as we know, people are nervous. I mean, they don't know how it's going to interact with their family. So again, I will always say that I am very proud to represent HART and all that we do.
It's the mission just gets into your heart, and I never thought that I would. It was kind of a funny story, I like to tell it because I said to my husband after I retired from Memorial in 2010, after 42 years, I think, there. Anyhow, I said to Rick, I'm not going to go on a board. I'm not going to even plan a cocktail party for at least a year. I'm burned out. And about a year after that, one of the board members who is still on the board, he's our vice chair, caught me in the vegetable department at Tops and said, gee, Patty, we need somebody with some fundraising experience. Would you consider? And, I think I gave him my yes right then because I didn't even have to think twice because of the care they gave my mom. Yeah. And it's one of the many organizations I've been involved in over the years, but I can't say that I am more proud of any of them than I am of HART.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just circling back to the funding piece of HART, you talked about cocktail parties. It made me think, well, what do? We have another great partnership with the Summer of '69 band.
Oh my gosh, yes.
They have been incredibly loyal to us, partners with us. They've performed for HART at they're at the Jug in the summertime.
Yep.
We've been at the Lewiston Event Center, and they come and perform so that we can raise money for the things that we need to do. So that's a great partnership.
And that has allowed our reach to hit a younger generation that may have thought, well, I don't need services like that. My mom and dad are doing all right. But it's brought in another part of our community that realizes, boy, I'm so glad they're there because, yes, we realize that Grandma does need some help. So it's been, and those guys are just the best.
They are.
Absolutely the best.
I get that call or I call them and we'll be there. We take our stuff and, they perform. We also this year for the first time, and I know that you enjoyed that because you like golf, is we had our first golf tournament.
Sure
Another
did.
way to raise funds. We're no different than any other nonprofit. We always have to raise money. So we're always looking for some unique ideas and ways to do that. Another member of CASE, who happens to also be on the HART board, hosted a baskets and brunch for us this year in another way, in another market, different people that we were attracting.
For sure.
So again, I think that's absolutely true. Various things that we do attract different people, and whether you're my age, your age, or whatever, someone's going to need us, or you're going to know someone who needs us.
Well, that's just it. Your family you may be fortunate enough not to need us, but I'll bet you for certain that there is someone else in your circle of friends or extended family that will need help at some time. The statistics are just growing immeasurably on they're living longer.
Sure.
So the odds are you're going to need some kind of care. If you're fortunate enough to have a large family in the area, that's great. There again, we can help them if they need to take a break.
Sure.
But if you don't have that luxury, then that's where we step in as your substitute family, so to speak.
Absolutely, absolutely. And unfortunately, or fortunately, we have been receiving more end of life cases too. So even if it's just short term, and mom doesn't want to die in the hospital, they want to come home, and we're able to take care of it, whether it's 5 hours or 24/7.
Right.
So truly, I think HART, as much as it's been around for almost 43 years and done wonderful things, the extent and how we've grown, we really want to shout it on the rooftops, because we're there. I can tell you that people in my own world, that had I not been involved with HART, I would not have been able to communicate what HART does and been able to find them help. So
Exactly.
it is truly, I was talking with one of my sisters last night, and I was talking about CASE and talking about this, and she said to me, she's like, Christine, you are so passionate about what you do. It is so wonderful
We
to
all
hear.
are. Our staff members are, our team, our board members, all of them are donors. It's just because we do good work. I do have to just tell one story, and I try to remember it often, that several years ago, pre-COVID, we would have an annual fundraising dinner, and it was mainly for fundraising, but we honored leaders in the community, or folks that had some kind of tie to HART. And this one year, among the people that we honored was the wonderful Father Levesque from Niagara University, past president, who this community sadly lost not long ago. But anyhow, walking out with him, he said, "Oh my gosh, you have a pen? I have to write down the number of your office on Long Island." And kind of stopped, and he said, "My brother needs your help. This is just what we've been looking for." And I so wanted to be able to say to him, "Oh, sure, we'll connect you with our office." And I said, "Father, we don't have an office other than right here in Niagara County." And he couldn't get over it. He said, "You should be everywhere in this state." And someday we would like to be, wouldn't we, Chris?
Absolutely. We will keep working on it as long as we're here,
right.
for sure.
And to that, you know a little bit more about it than I do, but mention the fact that we really have dovetailed beautifully into the governor's new plan on aging.
Yes, we exactly what the governor's planned for the master plan. We've been to several, you and I together, to some meetings, town hall meetings, and we are right in the middle of that.
Aging in place.
Aging in place, and that is the buzzwords. Aging in place, aging at home, and that's what HART is all about, as we so well know. So, well, I know that we have a website at www.heartprogram.org, but people can also call the office, I assume, for assistance.
Absolutely.
And also go online. You can fill out an application for whether you'd like assistance for a loved one or you'd like to apply for a job.
Both, exactly.
And I will say, just to add to that, up until about 3 years ago, and so that's 40 years, HART was paper and pencil, and due to a very generous benefactor, we were able to have a computer system designed so that we're able to do things online now. And let me tell you, it works beautifully in the sense that if you wanted to come in the office one day and kind of take calls, you could see it right there in front of you on a computer, as opposed to on paper and pencil. So again,
it took us from dinosaurs to jet planes or something, but
and look
there
at us
again,
now.
I'm so glad you said that. We could afford to do that. on the fact that we had a generous someone who stepped forward, who we had cared for a member of their family and stepped forward and funded that for us. And so often we get gifts that come in, donations, and they tell us it's an expression of our appreciation for you caring for our family when we needed you.
Absolutely.
And that, to me, that says it all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you and I, we went from paper to pencil to computers to podcasts. Look at us now. What are we going to do next?
We're in the big leagues now, Chris.
Absolutely. Well, Patty, I want to thank you for being my first guest on the Conversations with Case podcast, and look forward to many more guests as the weeks come up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Why don't you do some type of just closing? So thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Okay. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you soon on our next podcast, which will feature another member of the Case organization.